You're listening to the Board Game Snobs podcast, a ridiculous podcast with ridiculous hosts that discuss ridiculous things. And any mention of board games is purely coincidental. And so, without further ado, and with a heavy dollop of shame and embarrassment on my part, I give you the Board Game Snobs.
And go.
Oh, you caught me off guard there. At least you tried to. You never can catch me off guard. This is Jerry. Seems like we haven't done this in a long time. This is the Board Game Snobs.
Haven't podcasted or done it over Skype?
We haven't Skyped in a while. This is due to necessity. Typically, we do it live in studio, but we're having to Skype this one due to unforeseen circumstances.
I don't like Skyping it. I need to feel your aura. I need to feel your energy, and thus we energize and synchronize together.
Speaking of which, I had an interesting conversation today with a coworker who was discussing another coworker.
That's called gossip.
It was gossip. I was trying to not say I was gossiping, but I was gossiping. I was being a chatty Cathy. What is the male version of a chatty Cathy? Is that a saying? I've been gabbing Gobby.
Sure.
Jiving Jerry.
Jawing Jerry.
I was jawing. They said that this particular coworker gave them the heebie-jeebies.
Ooh.
Now, first off, they didn't say that. This is not like, we're not in the 50s. We weren't at a sock hop, but that they gave them like a weird feeling. And I was like, I don't get that from them. What weird feeling are you talking about? Like, explain it. Like, can try to put into words why this person makes you feel this way, which is really just more of a challenge, because I just wanted to see if they could adequately describe what it is. Define what makes this person a weirdo.
Uh-huh.
They couldn't do it. I could. I mean, the guy looks like he's a fat Jeffrey Dahmer. He's a chunky Dahmer. And I mean, it's just, that's what he is what he looks like.
I think a lot of it's in the eyes of a person.
I wonder if you were to take two of these types of individuals that emit the so-called heebie-jeebies and to put them in a room together, would they detect each other's heebie-jeebiness?
No, I think it'd be like two magnets just bouncing off each other.
Or would they feel like, would they walk out and be like, I really like that guy. That guy was really.
They may attract each other.
That's a swell guy. I really, there should be a convention for creepers, for the heebie-jeebies, which I had to look that term up. Apparently that was made popular by a 1926 single by Louis Armstrong and also credited by Billy Debris. All right, good for them. They came up with this term. But, yeah, I wonder, would they recognize, and thus by recognizing the nature causing the uneasiness in others, realize that they themselves do the same thing?
I think there are just social cues and norms and awareness that some people completely lack. So, like, a person I am comfortable around, they stand at a good distance. They're not staring into my soul the entire time. They ask harmless questions. How you doing? How's your day? Something like that. They're well kempt. They've combed their hair, brushed their teeth. Their clothes are, you don't look disheveled.
Yeah. But I think that if we put these people, what we need, what would cure this, what would completely eradicate this weird heebie-jeebiness from the culture would be, I think we should just we should have a convention, put them all in the same room, and I think they would figure it out for themselves, like a cognitive behavioral therapy. Like they'd be able to see this and be like, we need to stop being this way. That's what we could do. We could have a heebie-jeebie convention. It couldn't be within 1,000 yards of a school, But we should do this and just invite those people that give you the kind of the thing and just be like, here's this ticket. Show up to this convention. You might enjoy yourself.
Is GB spelled with a J or G?
It's with a J. It's actually HEEBIEJEEBIES.
Okay.
I had to look it up as well.
All right.
So you'd have to come up. It's like the cool guy convention. We'd have to lure them there. This whole convention didn't sound perverted.
And Chris Hansen would be the...
Chris Hansen's the MC. Well, we welcome you all here. Everybody sit down, please. Take a chair.
Put down your pizza and wine coolers.
Yeah. That's what we could serve at this convention. This pizza. This place. Everybody come in. And they all just look around, have a seat. Enjoy it. Enjoy Smirnoff Ice. And some DiGiorno. This is how I think Gen Con got started. I think that's what happened. They all just showed up and somebody brought a board game, and there you go. That was the start of it. It just keeps happening. Oh, okay. We got to get off this.
Well, real quick, I really hate to correlate it from what you just said, but I was going to mention the Midwest Snob Con.
Oh my. Okay. Maybe. Art and imitating life.
We should put some distance between these two conversations.
I forgot about that.
I'm so sorry, Brandon.
I sent my headshot, so I'll be and without any thought gave full rights and privileges in perpetuity to those to use my likeness. I don't know if I should have done that.
Well, all we can do is trust.
Yeah. I trust these people for which I've never met.
For which we've never met over the internet.
They seem really cool on Discord. My wife, the other day, I got a game in the mail, and it was from a company that just sent me something. And she says, I really wish you wouldn't give out our address. And I said, to who? She says, like, to this, because what if one of these days you have a stalker? I said, well, what? Do you want me to get a P.O. box? She says, we'll just send it to Gobby's house. I said, well, what? That's more likely Gobby's going to have a stalker.
She told you to send it to my house? She's wanting to dox me?
I said, first off, this is a board game company. This is a legitimate company. This isn't a person in their garage. This is a company. Like, that's sending games out. Huh? And so I'm trying to explain this to her, but in her mind, that's how it's like done. It's like I'm just giving out our home address to just whomever. But, yeah. Anyways.
So
there you go.
I'm trying to find the thread. It's not on Board Game Conventions because obviously it's not a real convention. It is just going to be a few listeners.
It is a real convention.
It's a few listeners.
Where there are, if there are 3 or more, there I am in spirit. that is a convention.
It's from our Midwest Adillos thread. Let's see. I believe it's May 17th. Let me go back through here. I'll edit all this out.
No, don't edit any of this out. I'm glad that they're having their own impromptu, non-heebie-jeebie convention.
It is sanctioned. We have said, sure.
It's sanctioned. We said
sure,
yes
you can
to
have,
this.
You can have hopefully at least maybe 6 of our listeners show up to a bar and drink and play games and call it SnobsCon.
What? This is what will be happening if something bad happens. Like something that's like virally bad. Like newsworthy bad. And it'd be like, multiple arrests at the Board Game Snobs Convention or something like that. Just completely ruin what little reputation we have. I think would be a fine way to end the podcast.
And that's it. We're done, ladies and gentlemen.
Just go up on top. There you go.
So Brandon Haynes says, hello all. This was posted to our Facebook group. They're going to have a SnobsCon Midwest in South Bend, Indiana, Saturday, May 3rd, from 12 p.m. to whatever, ? Of course, we won't be able to attend, but
Because it's in Indiana.
in Indiana, it's not what can lure us to Indiana? The Hoosiers.
I don't know. That's a desolate place.
Gene Hackman's dead. That's the only thing I knew about the Hoosiers.
Pretty much.
But
And his French connection.
But so if you're interested and you live in that vicinity of South Bend, Indiana, you might hit us up on either Discord or Facebook. It's a pinned post from dear listener Brandon Haynes. So they're going to get that. And, I hope at least 4 people show up so they can have a complete set for a game. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
You'll need to contact Brandon. So click
Brandon will have the address.
link in our show notes. Touch that link to Discord.
Come to Brandon's his basement. We're having this convention at my basement. Come to this cul-de-sac in Indiana.
Sponsored by Bartles and James.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't bring a car. Do an Uber. To this come at night to my basement for this certainly not shady board game convention.
No, it is not. Brandon's a respected member of our community that I have never met. I've spoken to him on numerous accounts.
We've certainly not vetted any of this.
We have not vetted any of them.
Let me just tell you. Listen, so this has worked out for us so far. Like literally, if you listen, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and you also have no fun if you don't accept the invitations. So literally, it's just like I think back to like Ryan Maxwell just being like, Come meet me at this bowling alley by the airport. And we're like, sure. He
wore jeans with the calves cut out of the jeans just so that they could be displayed.
Yeah, it's like,
it was like
we don't care.
He wore jeans for his calves like Prince wore on the MTV Awards at one time with his cheeks cut out so you can see his cheeks.
Yeah. I flew to Florida and stayed in a motel room with 2 British men that were just like, sure, come sleep on our couch. Absolutely.
Internet people.
Internet friends. You miss all the shots you don't take. So like, sure. I'm just saying, sometimes there is candy in that van. And you just need to go with it.
It works out.
They may have a puppy they want to show you. Go with them. Help them find it. They have, you never know. Not everybody is evil, is what I'm saying. At least the ones I have interacted with on the Discord and our Facebook group.
I would concur.
There you go. So I'm just saying,
they're good people.
Take a risk, and this may go to Indiana.
I mean, if you happen
you definitely won't wake up in a bathtub full of ice.
If you happen to have like, what is like a True People search or something where you can check the background of folks. I mean, sure, use it. Use it if you want to.
I in no way pay for like Intellisys or on-demand court records. I don't randomly put people's name in that may or may not be on our Facebook group just to make sure we don't have a bunch of wanted felons. I don't do that. I just go with my gut.
We're a safe place.
And if you don't give me the heebie-jeebies, then I'm down with that.
I'd like to think
come on.
We are heebie-jeebie free.
I've said this in the past. I have not met one person and had any interaction with anyone yet that has given me anything like the heebie-jeebies.
Type A heebie-jeebies.
The type B certainly, but type A. But the day is coming. And it will be devastating. I won't want to admit it, but there will be a time when we meet somebody that gives us that.
It's bound.
I don't know who that will.
It's bound to happen.
Well, actually, we have what happens is we have jumped the gun because we have met somebody. His name is Enrique, and we have inoculated ourselves to it because we interact with him on a daily basis. It's kind of like how the milkmaids got the cow pox, and that prevented them from getting the pox. They got that lesser. That's how it is. We don't really feel the heebies because we're around the GBs constantly, and we are thus inoculated to it. So sure, go to Indiana. Enrique rode. Have you seen the video of Enrique's bull riding, which I had no doubt will post to Facebook? Let me please clarify. It was not a live bull. It was a mechanical bull.
I think I saw his sister posted.
Yes, yes. He just went to Arkansas and hopped on a mechanical bull. He was not at the pickleball.
Where were they in Arkansas?
In Texarkana.
Oh, okay.
No, Texarkana is in both Arkansas and Texas, right?
Correct.
Okay. Hence the name. I get confused sometimes.
And the Texarkana, Texas side is the superior side, just FYI.
It is. I was at the pickleball court every Sunday evening like he should have been. And thus, when I messaged him, I'll be like, where are you? He was like, I'm sorry, I'm in Texarkana. I got invited to Texarkana and failed to mention that he was riding a bull. And so thus I was without my pickleball partner.
Speaking of which, I played with one of your friends pickleball here recently, Isaac and his wife, Jessica.
Rachel.
I don't know where I think I got Jessica.
Pretty sure it's Rachel. Yeah.
Raquel. And
Welch.
So then this was a couple of weeks ago when you were supposed to show up and you just ghosted us.
I was working with people who were dying.
And my brother-in-law flew in from Miami to play pickleball with you, and you ghosted him.
I miss you, Lance. I miss Lance a lot.
Lance a lot.
See what I did there? I miss Lance a lot. That's my go-to thing. Anytime I talk about Lance, I try to phrase it that way.
Lance has been talking pickleball. Lance is the one that got me into pickleball. We had a fine time playing. Enrique showed up with your other friends, and now my friends, Isaac and Jessica, Rachel. Just Rachel. It's Rachel. Definitely it's Rachel. And we had a fine time. Actually, there was a bunch of, there was like 12 of us out there. We covered 3 times 4. No, there were 16 of us because we had all 4 courts covered. Just friends and family came in. It was a fine time because Lance wanted to have a big pickleball evening. They came over and we played, and I was so sad. I was so sad when my brother-in-law was challenged by our friend Isaac to a singles game because Isaac had played Lance previously. And Lance had, schooled him quite well because Lance has been playing 3 or 4 times a week every day in sunny Miami where it's 70 degrees, 80 degrees every day. Well, Isaac beat him. And Lance brought shame upon the family name, is all I can say.
Isaac recounted this match to me, and he didn't say he beat him. His words, I believe, were that he dominated him. And that he felt sorry for him, and that the shame of that loss, he doesn't know how Lance would ever live it down. I think it's something of that nature.
Yeah.
It apparently was quite the match.
I mean, it was enjoyable to watch. I'm a doubles guy. I don't have the build for a singles game. I have the build and stamina for a doubles match. And I enjoy doubles a lot. And I will say
double cheeseburgers.
I will say, I'm going to tell you what the words that Isaac spoke to me.
Okay.
He was quite complimentary of my game.
Yes.
And he said, the way I swing the racket is mesmerizing. He said mesmerizing. He was,
he's from California.
He said, you don't think you're going to get to it. And no one, no one should think that I would be able to.
I have no faith in you.
But I
But
managed.
yet somehow you surprise us.
I lumbered towards the ball, and he says, "But something about your swing, you're able to, like, your swing is." I almost feel like he was like, it's like a slow, mesmerizing swing that
There's a build up to it.
manages to get the ball back over the net. I was like, "Well, thank you, sir. I take that compliment."
Okay. Well, that's good. Well, so that's been the activities of recent. I think we probably now need to move on into something perhaps board game related. What you got? You have more?
I just have. I got a few things. One thing non-board game related. One thing board game related. So I'll start with the non-board game related. The Electric State with Chris Pratt and Millie Bobby Brown is one of the largest pieces of trash I have ever seen in my life.
Okay, this is first off, I just watched a review for this, and it said the same thing. And I thought to myself, I guarantee you, Gabi has watched this because it has Millie Bobby Brown in it.
MBB.
And I thought to myself, I was going to watch this solely for the fact that when you gave your opinion of it, I assumed because it had Millie Bobby Brown in it, that you would be pro this show. Or at least neutral.
I've previously sung the praises of MBB. MB squared, let's call her.
Mm-hmm.
I no longer sing the praises of MB squared, and I'm beginning to wonder if she has the capacity to carry anything dramatic forward in the future. I hope so. I think
she looks like MB one note. She looks also, and listen, as you well know, I am not the type of person to insult somebody's appearance or anything about them personally.
False. Go ahead.
I just have a hard time. I have a hard time believing when she is now. They try to portray her as being a younger person.
Mm-hmm.
To me, she looks like she's 35.
Well,
she looks much older.
She's 20. No, as of now, she's 21. But when they made this movie, she was 20, she said. I listened to her on another podcast as they interviewed her about the movie, and she said she was 20, but now she's 21. And yes, she's getting older, but she, I mean, that's fine. I will not talk about one person's looks because I'm not that type of person.
I won't. I'm not. I won't do it either.
But it was, if you want to talk about just, okay, everybody's talking about it. Cost $320 million at least to make the Russo brothers.
That's money. That's money laundering. There's no way something costs $320 million.
The Joe and Anthony Russo, who once wrote such comedic shows as Community, and I forget the other one they did. But they wrote some of the Captain America movies, the Avengers, Infinity War. They've had these mega smash hits. This movie sucked.
It had the Tooch in it.
It did have the Tooch. Right? Not the Tooch's best work either. I see, and I see that's why I'm being objective. It's not anybody's.
Tooch is going downhill.
No, how? No,
I'll say it. I'll say it.
This movie is no one's best work. Not the directors, not MB squared, not the Tooch. Chris Pratt gets on my nerves. I've declared that before, so he's not even a part of it. All the bickering back and forth to supposedly build this repartee. I used repertoire. It should have been repartee.
I say repertoire. Yeah.
It should have been, they were trying to build this repartee between him and her, they're bickering. Here's some fake chemistry. We're jamming into this movie that feels forced. It didn't work. The humor was not good. The movie was completely soulless. It had no emotional impact on me at all. I was bored. I was absolutely bored watching this garbage of a movie. And I was so looking forward to it. So the more I look forward to something, the harsher I'm going to be. I wanted this to be really good. I enjoy being able to go home, sit on my chair, and watch a high production value movie on Netflix. That's great. That's awesome. You couldn't do that 10 years ago. Now you can. Unfortunately, Netflix tends to produce mostly garbage movies. But
yeah, you have to dig for their hidden gems. They've got a lot of good stuff. You just you can't buy into it seems like the big stuff that they put out is just trash that they bought off of the studios, that the studios knew, yeah, this is not going to go well.
Yeah. Anyway, it is a terrible movie. And then, okay. So
Here we are.
Moving.
No more ripping on the toot.
Moving from movies to games. Speaking of bombs, according to only me, because it won the 2023 Golden Geek Solo Game of the Year, Legacy of You.
Oh yeah. I haven't got to play it yet.
I played 4 rounds of this game. The first game, of course, I'm just beginning to, kind of figure out what it does. It does this and that. It's a card game. It's a resource management game. You're fighting off the barbarians while you're trying to build like irrigation canals to ward off this flood that's destroying the land. And it's based on true stuff. But although when I looked up the Legacy of You, it's mythology in Wikipedia. So it's like, I don't know what's true, what's myth, I guess, because it was thousands of years ago, I guess. But it's based upon somewhat real events, somewhat real stuff. And China was getting flooded with stuff, and they needed to ward that all off. So they hired this one particular person, Yu's father, Gun. He built a bunch of dikes to prevent these floods from coming. The dikes failed. And so they say that he like mysteriously disappeared. So they think the emperor probably got rid of him. Well, then his son comes in and is successful. And he's quite, lauded in Chinese culture, this Yu character. The game is fine. It's fine. And that's, would you rather play a game that's terrible or fine? I guess fine. I guess fine reasonably is the one you would want to choose.
Well, I haven't played it yet.
Well,
it could be that the problem is you.
The problem could be you.
It could be.
It's a campaign type game, but a resettable campaign. And resettable, I mean, not resettable. It's a very simple game. Okay, the pros of it are it's easy to learn, easy to set up, minimal setup. You're playing it within 10 to 15 minutes.
I wonder what happened to you.
I don't know.
Keep going. Just keep going.
And so you have townsfolk cards that you play in a number of ways. You can play them for their resources. You can play them for this certain harvest phase, which you do every time you draw back up cards. It's basically kind of like after the reset, you do your harvest phase. That's when you get it's like the income phase. So in the income phase, you can increase your harvest phase and the things you get, but you can also play the cards in like 3 or 4 different ways. Okay, that's cool. That's always cool. The art is really good. It's Sam Phillips. And I had to look this up, and I wanted to look this up because I know me and you are always confused on all things Sam Phillips, Sam McDonald, and what I've come to learn as the Miko. Now, the Miko is not his name. His name is Mihaila Dmitrievsky. Where they got the Miko, I don't know. But apparently he's the Miko. Mihaila Dmitrievsky. He's the one that did the art for like Raiders of the North Sea and all those games. He did the South Tigris series as well. He works with Shem a lot. But Sam also does games, also does art for Shem, and they go do a bunch of stuff together. But anyway, so Sam Phillips is an artist, artist for Shem. S.J. McDonald, aka Sam McDonald, is the one that did like Chaos Order, Circadian's First Light, and a few other games. So, but his name is also Sam. So we're always getting confused with the Sam and the Shem and I guess now the Miko. But I finally I finally got it straightened out in my head. So Legacy of You is art by Sam, designed by Shim. It's an okay game. I played it 4 times. At the 4th time, I finally just packed it up and said, I'm not enjoying this. I'm done.
It sounds like this game's just not for you.
It is not. It was, and it is, but it's not for me.
Well, I'll give it a shot and try to explain why you're wrong. I may not like it either.
You briefly mentioned it. I think you opened it, put it on your table, and at one time, I don't, because I was trying to look it up. I don't know if
I never got to play it.
Yeah, you briefly mentioned it in a podcast a long time ago, but I couldn't find when and where, and I don't think you had played it, because you oftentimes just like unbox stuff, read the rules, but you don't play it.
Yeah.
Well, this one I played. I played it, and I played it, and I played it, and then I played it, and the 4th time I played it, I was like, I'm good, I'm done.
Well, that's good enough. I'll take your word for it, but I'll give it a row and see what happens. Speaking of solo type games, I posted on our Facebook group that a game had come in that I had completely forgotten that I had backed, that being the second reprint of a game that came out a few years ago called Earthborn Rangers. For whatever reason, I backed this game, and it's been so long, I couldn't remember why I backed it. It's a 1 to 4 player game. It's kind of a campaign type thing where you're a ranger and you create your little dude and you go out and you just have like this narrative adventure. And it's basically just a bunch of cards and narrative choices and maps and that type thing. And I could not for the life of me think of why I backed this. Like what, because typically if I pull the trigger on something, I have researched it and something caught my eye. And apparently there were 2 things that caught my eye. One of them was the review that was done by Space Biff, which is AKA Dan Thoreau. And if you don't know who Space Biff is, you go to spacebiff.com. He is the best writer of board game reviews, of written reviews. There is no one who rivals him. If he were to get into something like writing reviews that were like for video games, he would take over the world because of just how talented he is. Well, he wrote rather favorably of this game. The other reason that I purchased it was to examine it. And I had forgotten that because when the game came in the mail and I opened the box, I immediately looked at it and was not quite impressed by the packaging of it, like the feel of it. The first thing that I noticed is that it wasn't wrapped, it wasn't cellophaned like most games are. And when I opened it, there were various other little things that I was looking at that I'm going, what is this? What, this doesn't look right. What is wrong with this? And I realized that was the second reason I bought it, that when Earthborn Rangers was founded, when they made it, they made a big deal about it being not printed using any single-use plastic or plastic of any kind, and that the entire game is recyclable. Like it's a game that's like made with certain types of components. It wasn't made in China. I believe it was actually made. They were attempting to try to make it as local as possible. I think it ended up getting printed in Germany. All the components. It was like even the ink, I think, was like printed using like vegetable based ink. They went full. Can we make this game as no plastic and made in locally and all this? They went and have it manufactured. I think they were like trying to have it manufactured like United Kingdom. They're trying to make it local. So they went all out to try to make this game. It was like an experiment to see not only can we make a game, but also can we manufacture it with all this in mind. And so that was the other reason I backed it, was like I was just wanting to see what the main product was. And of course I had completely forgotten that. So when it came in the mail, and the first thing I thought was, well, this thing it's not wrapped in plastic. Why is this thing does not have plastic that I will throw away and it can then go to the ocean and strangle a dolphin? but then I looked and it had like, anyways, the game is the components of it are fine. Like it's actually quite well done. I haven't got to play it yet. I'm very excited. Earthborn Rangers, mainly because Dan Thoreau spoke. He said, of course, in his review, there are some negative sides of it, but he really did enjoy it. It's rated as it's kind of more of a heavier weight game. It's rated an 8.1 on BGG. Its weight is like a 3.5. There's a lot of little things about it that I'm going to be very interested in playing. And so I'm really looking forward to I'm trying it out solo at first to see if it's, something that y'all might like, and then giving it a whirl. But it was nominated in 2023 as the best. It didn't win it, but it was nominated as the most innovative and best solo, best cooperative, best artwork. It's like it had a lot of nominations from 2023. This is the second printing of it.
You beat it. Legacy of You beat it.
Yeah. So,
what
anyways,
I was thinking of solo games. Yeah. Okay. So this one is cooperative solo. I saw you get in the mail. You should put a picture of it on Facebook. And I was thinking
it came during the dust storm, and there was no electricity. So I also thought that was quite ironic after the end of it. So
the apocalypse is nigh upon us. The Space Invaders dice game. What was that one called?
Mm-hmm. I know what you're talking about. Let me turn.
I think you have our copy. Well, what did you say? The return?
No, I didn't say. I said I have to turn around. I think you have it.
I do not have it. It's not at my home. Anyway,
Under Falling Skies, I have it.
Okay,
yes,
yeah,
and that's a great game.
So, and I know I'm comparing apples to oranges because Legacy of You is a Euro style game. And what is
Earth talking about that?
What is Earthborn?
We're still hating on you. Good Lord. Leave Sam, Shim, and Miko alone.
Well, because you were talking about this and being a solo as well, cooperative. Of course, any cooperative can be a solo, pretty much. But I was thinking I think that's the last solo game I truly enjoyed. We often talk about At the Gates of Loyang. I love that one too, but it's a much more elaborate setup. How hard? Well, you said Earthborn Rangers is a heavy game. Oh man, you think we'll enjoy it cooperative, or you think should be just a solo?
I don't know. I am tempted to introduce my daughter to it, and that was going to lead into my next little thing I was going to talk about. The designers of Earthborn Rangers are like, it has like a host of designers. There's like 5 different people that have designed it, and some of the guys that have designed it, their previous games include 2 designers from the X-Wings miniatures game, another one from the Rune Wars and the Fallout game, which was one that was like also quite lauded, the Star Wars Armada game as well, and just several others. There's another first time art director from like Fantasy Flight. So this game was done by like some Fantasy Flight guys that got together and made Earthborn Rangers. And so it's one of these that I'm like, just because of that.
And those are all like miniature fighting, or not all, but the Star Wars games are miniature fighting games. What this game is just is a card game.
It's just nothing but cards, and the theme is it's described as a customizable cooperative card game set in the future. You take on a role of a ranger, a protector of a mountain that you call home, a vast wilderness that has been transformed by science and technology devised to save Earth from a destruction long ago. You build a deck of your ranger's interest, so you're building your character. Your ranger's interest, personal history, personality, and then you explore the open world and augment your deck with improved equipment, skills, and so forth. And so it's a branching narrative campaign. And so it seems like it's this game of you're going out and kind of like, that Ryan Lockett game that we liked with Enrique, and a little bit of like a Seventh Continent type thing. That's kind of what I get from this. Okay. Is like, I'm going to be going out and exploring, and here's my guy. And I think it can be, solo or whatever. But the reason I want to try it with my daughter is because which this will branch into my other discussion about another board game, Hard Merge.
Go ahead.
My daughter, who does not like board games, at best, she describes herself as maybe a card game player, what have you, came home and proceeded to tell me that she played a board game with Enrique's sister, Christine, and that she loved it, and then couldn't remember the name of the game. Proceeds to give me a very odd description of like, it's a medical game and you're trying to heal people. And we just decided to stop playing it until you could play it with us. And I'm like,
Operation.
Okay. So I start digging through which game it was and realizing that more than likely this was bought at Walmart. There is a line of games called Emergency Room, Medical Mysteries, and they purchased from Walmart. It's called it's the New York City Emergency Room game. You can buy it for like $20-something at any Walmart. And you haven't played the detective game from Portal Games.
No.
But that solo game does something that it's a cooperative solo game that you're a detective, and it simulates like the groundwork that it takes to be a detective. And the one thing that I really liked about that game was it wasn't something very dramatic. It was, do you go to this location and it takes 3 hours and look up this thing, or do you go to this location? It takes 2 hours, and then you do stuff while you're there. And so you had to manage your time. And so the longer it took you to solve the mystery, the less points you got, so forth, so on. This New York City emergency game is very simple in that when you open it, here's this little tutorial that walks you through how to play the game. Like you open it up, it's your first patient. You don't get to make really any decisions. You just do what the tutorial tells you. And 5 minutes later, you now know how to play this game. It's very plain. And so I did the tutorial real fast. I bought it. I bought my own copy of it. Because if my daughter says this is a game she really liked, I thought, well, I've got to find out what this is. And so I got it, took it home, did the tutorial real fast and said, all right, let's do the next patient. We sat down as a family and just, in case you're new to this podcast, I am a healthcare hero, been in the medical field over 20 years, started off as a paramedic and then an RN in the emergency room. So this game is like my bread and butter. So the first patient, it's like before I even read like the little, here's the situation, I already know what's going on. And each patient gradually gets worse. It gets each case gets harder and harder to solve. But essentially, I was just enthralled with this game because, one, it was highly educational for people who are not in the medical field. Like my kids sat there and I'm like, okay, so here's what they say. They say this, 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 and here's what the patient's complaining of. And then you have this little card where it gives you the options of what you can do. Like, here's the blood works that you can ask for. Here's the drugs you can give. Here's the tests you can run. Here's a consultation you can do. And every time you pick something or ask the patient a question, you write it down on a little piece of paper thing that gives you, and that advances the time. And you just look up the answer, the card, you pull out the card. It says, okay, look at card number 4. And you pull out the card, and here's a little image, and it says, whatever that you asked about. And if you take too much time, the game changes. So if you keep asking stupid questions and just keep running stupid tests, your patient degrades. And it does so through an interesting little mechanic of you look up in this book, kind of like if you're a big time solo war gamer, you probably know about Ambush, where you're looking up, the results of something in a book. This one has a very small booklet where if you draw the blood work when they first come into the office, and look at them and do an EKG, then you get this result. You look up this page of the manual. If you wait and you mess around and now it's like, oh yeah, we should have drew their blood, and you drew your blood now you get this result. You get a different result. And at the end of the game, it does this neat little thing that is geared more towards, I guess, actual people who have a background in medicine, but is still easy and accessible for people who don't, where it's like, okay, so what was wrong with this patient? What would you suggest, and what referrals would you make? And you write that out, And then you read the epilogue and it gives you a score. It's like, did your patient die? Then lose this many points. Or did they survive the night, get this many points? Did you discover this? Did you discover that? And it ranks you. And it's once you play that, the patient, you're done with that patient. You move on to the next. So you only can play this game once. But it is strangely educational because it describes with a little handout each little test and what it does and each little drug and what it does. And so I'm playing this with my 13-year-old, my 11-year-old, and they're loving it. And I would have never have thought that I would have enjoyed a cooperative medical game, because I can't even watch ER without screaming at this TV about how stupid it is that what they're portraying. But this is strangely good for being just a cheap Walmart game. Medical Mysteries, New York City Emergency Room. I must assume that they're going to make more of these.
It's $21.95.
Yeah.
$22. I might have to check that out. You have me intrigued.
I know it's very interesting, and it does exactly what you think it is. It's a neat little medical little mystery, and like the first patient, they rank the patients and let you know this patient's going to be easy or hard, and the little handouts of cards, and literally that tutorial. Like when you open the game, it's just envelopes, and the first envelope is like, read this. This is the tutorial. You take it out, and it walks you through exactly what to do. Write this down. Here, look this up. Do this. Do that. You don't make any decisions. The tutorial is just literally go down the line and go through the motions. And when it's done, it's like, okay, that's how you play the game. Congratulations. Now open the next envelope and best of luck to you. And it's just that, it's that snappy. Like legitly 5 minutes from opening that envelope, I was like, oh yeah, that's all you got to do. You just look stuff up, you pull out these cards, and there you go. And of course, it adds a lot if you get into that. Like if you're really, I don't want to say anything because it kind of spoils the game, but there was a patient that come in with a specific complaint that if you work in the emergency room, this is what you're going to do. Like it's universal. You walk into any emergency room, you say this complaint, this thing will happen. And I, instead of just going, okay, here's what we need to do, I just look at my kids and go, okay, what do y'all think we need to do? Here's your options. And I just stay quiet and watch them go, okay, well, what about this? We could do this. And strangely enough going, well, why would you do this? And kind of explaining. And it was interesting to see how somebody who, my 11-year-old who has very little medical background, of course, it's like Jack is not out there being like, it's not like he's got it. He was able to make deductions about this that was like, well, we should do this because what if this? And I'm like, well, why would we do that? Well, it was very interesting, even though the game is rated 14 plus, and I'm not realizing that till just now that I'm playing this with wildly inappropriate age groups. But yet, if my 11-year-old and 13-year-old, which strangely enough, I just found out apparently my daughter is apparently a genius. I didn't know that.
Says every parent. No. Says every parent.
Okay, so we did testing, like they did the kids are homeschooled, so we had my daughter tested like throughout a different third party organization. And
you did a BuzzFeed IQ test.
No, we did it took like 3 days of testing. It was an actual. Is she? No, it was actual like 3 days worth of like official type stuff. And it was very odd because they give you the report back later, and she hates math. And they compile it from all the students around the country. And I'm like, oh, she's not going to do any good at math. Like this is not going to go well. And like, that was like the first thing she did. And then later we get the report back. She's like in the 81st percentile. And I'm like, that can't be right. And it's a weird thing to think of, like when you're thinking of something like, my kid's not in the 8. Are you that good at math? And then I'm like, man, that's really good. That means like she's better than 80%. She's equal to or better than 81% of the rest of the kids at her age level at math. And I'm like, that just can't be that can't be right. And then it comes back. She's like at the 98th percentile in language. And I'm like, good night. She's better. She's at the top 1% in the nation. And I'm like looking up stuff because it's like, is this true? And so either she's really, really smart or everybody has gotten really, really dumb.
But,
and so those are the two options.
I mean, I've been around Kaya. She's a smart kid.
She is, but I didn't know she was that smart.
She's smarter than you.
That's what's
gonna be tough.
That's what blew me away. It's, I think I have a very unbiased opinion.
Sure.
And it's like, I kind of like, because I'm not one of those parents that are like, little Junior, he's the best, whatever. They can invite you over, play the piano, son. And they get on there and sound like,
they play chopsticks.
You play chopsticks or like everybody's clapping. It's like, it's not that. Like, I kind of know. It's like, oh yeah, they're good at this. They're kind of good at this. Like, we're reasonable.
So
but then it's like, yeah, I was not expecting that. That blew me away. It was shocking that subjects for which she purports not to like, she's that good at.
Well, Medical Mysteries, NYC Emergency Room. Thumbs up from Jerry of the Board Game Snobs. I have yet to play it, but it sounds good. Legacy of You. Thumbs down from Gabi of Board Game Snobs. Another shim miss. The only shim hit I have yet to have played is Raiders of the North Sea. All right, well, we're well into this podcast. I feel like it's time to end it.
This podcast went on for a long time.
It went on for a long time for what I thought would be a short episode.
Man,
we
really put it out there.
Yeah. I mean,
for our listeners,
we go
all of them.
We go the extra mile for all four of those that are going to show up to Midwest Adillo's Snob West Con in
Illinois,
Bend, Indiana.
Bend over, Indiana. Isn't that where Delicio's at?
He's nearby.
Delicio might show up to this. I'm not saying he will. Wouldn't that be awesome? Because he's a fan. He might be going to this.
He likes us, I think.
If an elderly gentleman shows up to this, wouldn't that be weird? Oh, Brandan having this in his basement, and all of a sudden here comes Mike Delicio knocking on his door with his Bud Light and his bag of Cheetos. And his white coolers.
And a game his Bartles and James and Scythe under his arm.
Yeah. I just was going to play Scythe with these guys. We was going to do a 7-player.
All right. With that.
I got to laugh at that one.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Board Game Snobs.
That is going to do it.
That's going to do it. Oh, real quick.
You're not even going to have to edit this episode. You just put it out.
It's good to go.
It's good to go.
So when you posted also Helldivers, a board game, let's not discuss that because I don't want you to. We ain't got time for it.
Yes.
But when you posted Earthborn Rangers, and dear listener, Jeff Arthur said, "Watch out, Ethel," but it was too late. And then you said, "That's an old school reference." Are y'all making I forgot his name. The cheesy singer from the 80s that made joke songs.
It's too late. She doesn't been. Yeah, that guy.
Ray Stevens.
They did like the squirrel got loose. Ray Stevens. Yeah, squirrel got loose in the streak.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Look out, Ethel.
That's a deep.
That was a deep. I cannot tell you how much that warmed my heart. Like when somebody makes an old reference and I get it. That's why nostalgia bait. That's why Millie Bobby Brown is so big. It's basically nostalgia bait. It's 80s stuff, and it works. It simply works. If you make an obscure reference that I happen to know about, that's it. I'm in.
Well,
I'm done.
I saw him post that.
You are now my friend.
Jeff Arthur.
That's all it takes.
Friend. When I saw that posted, I was like, Ray Stevens was like a buddy of mine growing up in the 90s. His family, of course, loved Ray Stevens. And they would show us videos of Ray Stevens, and I was not a Ray Stevens guy. I didn't care for Ray Stevens. It's not my jam. Ray Stevens is not my jam. Because I think he recently died.
I'm looking him up. Keep going.
I think he recently died. He was like, he made original, just cheeseball, corny songs. And The Streak is probably his number one hit. And that's where he says, "Look out, Ethel," or something.
Ray Stevens. Yeah. Everything is Beautiful, which was actually a gospel song back in the 1970s, won him a Grammy. Let's see. He's got to be dead.
I think he just died. Him or Jerry Clower? Maybe I'm getting him confused with Jerry Clower.
He died in... No, he's still alive. According to Wikipedia,
Okay.
He's 86 years old. His wife's dead.
There's a old school comedian that, nope, Jerry Clower died in 98. Good God.
There's a
who had the bits? They would do fake phone calls.
That's Roy D. Mercer. And here's why I love Roy D. Mercer. Now, here's okay. First off, anybody who is not from the South, you need to take a moment and at some point in time look up a man named Roy D. Mercer. And he has the most hillbilly accent. He was a radio guy. And what he would do is he would call other redneck hillbillies and incite them to violence over the phone. And he would just he knew what to say to upset other Southerners. And so it was hilarious because he would call like some bait and tackle store and be like, "You got any minnows?" And they're like, "No, we got minnows. What kind of minnows do you got?" And they'd go back and forth until he would irritate the person until they would get so mad. He'd be like, "I just ought to come down there and whoop you. How big a boy are you?" That was his line.
That's his line.
"How big a boy are you? How big a boy are you?" Which was like, "How big are you? Because I bet you I can take you." And he had all these little goofy lines that were like that. And it was stupid.
Okay.
It was just stupid.
So
him and Rodney Carrington.
Oh God. Well, Rodney Carrington is as blue as you can get. But Roy D. Mercer, Wikipedia, is a fictional character created by American disc jockeys Brent Douglas and Phil Stone on a Tulsa radio station, KMOD-FM. Douglas, who performed Mercer's voice, used the character as a vehicle for prank phone calls. And prank phone calls were so huge back in the day. I mean, people made livings off prank phone calls.
Well, there was the Muppets people did it on Comedy Central. Yeah. Brett Douglas just died.
Right.
The guy who was Roy.
So that's why that's on my mind. So because I knew there was, who did I say earlier? Anyway,
Rodney Carrington.
It's in this 80 Jerry Clower, but he's way like 70s, I think.
Oh yeah.
But just this generation of a humor that no longer exists, basically, because nobody does prank phone calls anymore. They're all cell phones, and we all have caller ID. All right, well,
boy, howdy, that was a time period.
How big a boy are you? That's the line I was trying to remember because that was his.
How big a boy are you?
He was always ready to fight somebody.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Roy D. Mercer. Well, that's going to do it for this eclectic episode of the Board Game Snobs. As me and Jerry Skype each other, we yearn to be together in physical form, but yet the world keeps us apart.
That was very poetic.
Thank you. Until next time, I'm Gabi.
This is Jerry.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tolerating this episode of the Board Game Snobs. Stay classy.